9 o'clock, so I think we should get started. We are on the schedule for 2.5 hours, so we want to make sure we get going and have plenty of time. Or we could look at it that way and say we have a whole 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So depending on which way you look at it, hopefully you can, if you're looking at it like we only have 2.5 hours to get going. So we're going to start as usual. We always consider this as part of an actual OVRC meeting. So we're going to go around and do a roll call and see who all is in the room. I'll start. My name is Annette Lutz. I'm the chairperson of the committee, and I'm also the Toledo representative. And if somebody could take the mic around.
Yep.
And just say who you are. I think most of us know what areas everyone's in and all of that, but we want to try and be a little expeditious about this. So.
There we go. Praise the Lord. No. Orville Sharp, BE Area Manager for Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton.
Sally Nunes, BE Area Manager for the rest of the state. BE Training Manager, Lindsay Rickens. Turn that one off. Gotta be smarter than that.
One mic at a time.
No, mine's all.
Like I really need one. Chris Johnson, Columbus, Ohio.
Same for me.
Mine. Toledo alternate recorder.
Lisa Mundina.
Josh French.
Laura Cole. Patty Slaker.
Keith Jamel.
Lloyd Houston.
Jim Davis.
Debbie Garrett. Shelby Heindel.
John Kennedy.
Jeff Toll.
Scott Allen.
Hey, good morning, Michael Talley, Birmingham, Alabama.
Kirk Lee Master.
John Hill.
Mike Russell.
Joey Russell.
Oh, Roger Hall.
Andre Cummings.
Michael Osborne. Frank Ricassa, Cincinnati.
Jim Lutz, Columbus.
I'm Misty Hatcher, new licensee.
Mark Olbrick, Cincinnati.
Nicole Myrick.
I'm sorry, what? Oh.
Dean Hamilton, Akron. Aaron Hopkins, Akron.
Lisa Litzinger, Zanesville.
Okay. Who was that last
Curtis
person?
Joyner, Toledo.
There he is.
Trent Treble's in here too. Walked away from his
Trent Treble.
Trent Trouble, yeah.
Mark Messick.
Johnny Mack.
Uh,
Christy Howard. Christy Howard. Did I miss anyone? Okay.
we're good. All right. Well, welcome. Statewide is always my favorite OVRC meeting because we get so many people here. And we get to hear what all of you are thinking about. That's really what we are here to do. Yes, to advocate for the program, but to support your ideas, your thoughts, and deal with any concerns any of you have. So we'll be getting to that here shortly. We do have a few things I want to do to start with, though, before we get into public comment and the general reports that we do and all of that. This is the sad part of the occasion. Over the last year, we have lost several people of our Ohio BEP family. First of all, last June, we lost longtime operator John Studzer from Toledo. John had a pretty long career. I met him when I first went to Toledo several years ago. He did serve on the OVRC at times and was a very active operator, good family man, loved talking about his kids, and we surely missed. Then in January, we lost somebody who I think of as a good friend of mine, John Giorgio. John had been in the program for not quite as long as some of the rest of us, but took a very active role while he was with us for such a short time. He was proud of the fact that last year's awards, he had won Innovative Operator, and he was well-deserved, always wanting to help people, and especially technology and things like that. We're blessed today to have John's wife with us, Kathy, so we're happy that Kathy is still here as part of our BEP Ohio family. Then, just a few weeks after we lost John, we lost Dave Cunningham. I didn't know Dave personally as well as the other two, but I know he was a great operator, cared a lot about the program. I had the privilege of talking to Dave when he first was coming into the program and getting to know him a little bit then when I was brand new as well over in the Zanesville area. And then he actually spent a little time in Toledo looking at some facilities. So I knew him more way back then, but he is going to be surely missed. And one other name that I want to mention, those of you in the Akron-Canton area especially, we mourn Tim Tuberty, who was a consultant. Back when he was here, we called him specialist. I didn't know Tim as well, but he came on around the same time that Jim, my husband Jim, came in. Jim thought of him as a friend. Dean Hamilton told me the same thing. So I know he was well loved by the operators in the Akron area that he got to work with. So I want to take a moment to remember all of these folks and just kind of take a moment of silence to think about them and pray for them and let them know that wherever they're listening, that they're still here as part of our BE family and that they will be missed. Thank you so much. Now, before we get into the public comment, I want to share with you the results from the elections that we just held. I always think this part's funny because everyone in this room probably already knows the results because I know how things go, but just in case there's someone who doesn't, we did open the ballots yesterday. We held elections for Dayton, Columbus, and Zanesville, and opened them yesterday afternoon. And I want to let everyone know that in the Dayton area, Keith Trammell will remain as our representative. And we have a brand new alternate. And actually, someone who's, I believe, brand new to the committee. I don't think he's actually officially served on the committee, even though he's somebody who's very active and we all know real well, and I'm very glad to have his input now, as alternate Chris Johnson. Then in Columbus, we have remaining as our representative, Mark Wood. And someone who's fairly new, I think she served for a short period of time on the committee before, but now we're glad to have her in a permanent role as alternate, Missy Street. And then in the Zanesville area, the current person, she's serving on the committee now as the alternate for Dayton, but now she's going to be the rep for Zanesville, Yvette Shackelford. And then we have the alternate, Larry Danflis. Congratulations to every one of you. I look forward to working with you. Those of you who've been on the committee for some time, we are glad you're staying. We have fun, y'all. Those of you who are new, we're looking forward to getting to know you and having your input and having your fresh ideas and suggestions on the committee. And where's this one?
They're coming.
Okay. And I do want to take the opportunity to thank a couple of folks that we are losing from the committee. We are losing, in Zanesville, we had two gentlemen step up this past term when other folks, that no one was available to run in the area, Derek Newfarf and Seth Ryan. So we want to thank them for their help and their willingness to serve in that area for this last term. And we're also in Columbus, Julie Russell is currently serving as the alternate, and we thank Julie for her input and her work that she's done dedicated to the committee. She's been on and off the committee over the years, and we appreciate the help she's given as well. I'm personally thrilled that for the first time in I don't know how long, we have a full committee starting in July, all represented by representatives and alternates from the area that they are assigned to. So I think this is awesome. Okay, so now we're going to move on to public comment. I have had 3 suggestions for public comment. I will call on the folks in the order that I received their request. The first one will be Yvette Shackelford. And Yvette, if you could keep it to about 3 minutes, that'd be great.
You want to check your mic again?
My public comment is the Bureau has made a decision to no longer record dates during transition. I believe that this is wrong, and it's important for us to always record the consultant, to record the dates, because it puts not only totally blind people at disadvantage, but there's an issue also with the, as far as the outgoing operator, it puts them at a disadvantage, and the incoming operator. Where is the proof of what the dates are that's on the inventory? You're leaving and you're receiving. This is something that we should not, we've always recorded dates. The consultant is there to assist the operators, and regardless of what your visual acuity, we should always have the dates there to prove what we have. They're depending on the rule that, from the rule that you have 7 days Well, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna look at dates if you have. It's okay.
Check.
There you go. Yes, I know. It's done.
Okay, thanks, Yvette. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Then.
Okay.
My next request was from Tom Holcott. Same thing, about 3 minutes, Tom.
I don't think he's in here yet. They went to their car to put their luggage away.
Okay, then we will move to Mott. Oh, and Mott, you know we have to say 3 minutes.
That's all right. I'll talk fast. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to say that what you said sounded like maybe I should just talk. Okay, here you go.
It's not my fault, but I feel terrible.
That's all right, that's all right. What Yvette said sounded like a no-brainer to me. It sounds like just common sense bookkeeping and accountability, the necessary accountability. So I'd like to second what she said. My two comments are that one thing I think for the longest time, we have not had a guideline as to what expenses the operators are responsible for. Of course, we all know that we got to pay for our own vehicles and a couple of things like that. There's been some new things added, and there are complications. If you have to buy locks, for example, what happens when you leave the facility? Does the operator bring in their own locks? What about light bulbs and all sorts of things? You're going to strip it. I mean, I'm not saying we need to discuss this now, but I believe the committee should help work with the Bureau and develop something so that operators know what their responsibilities are. I've heard all sorts of stuff about, oh yeah, we can solve it this way and we can solve it that way, and yeah, I've heard all that, but nothing in writing and nothing definite. The other thing I'd like to comment on is this. The rules discussion is coming up fast, and I think the new rules should be made available in the most accessible way possible, and that would be on your phone. It should be possible for us to get those rules. We have an IT function in the, in the agency, and I think somehow we should be able to easily get those so that when you sit down with your specialist or you're making a presentation to the committee, nobody says, I don't have my rules, I don't remember what the rules are. You know, those rules should be there's no reason we can't have those rules available on our phones. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Yes.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah, Tom Holcott had also asked if he's back in the room. So Tom, you want to do public comment?
So I won't take up too much time, but I wanted to express my sincere and undying gratitude towards several individuals, mainly John McNamara, Dave Padgett, Annette, Anne Marie, for all that you've taught me in the last year. Yes, I know to you it's been a year, but to me it's been 50 years in 2 states for a myriad of reasons I won't go into here. But still, thank you for all that you've taught me and all the advice that's been given up to this point.
Thanks, Tom, and I think I can speak for all those that you just mentioned, that it is our pleasure. We wish you all the success in the world. Okay, was there anyone else who wanted to give public comment? And also know that we're going to have an open forum time here at the end of the meeting, too. Okay. So with that, going past them, we will turn the mic over to Christy Hauk to give our annual VEP, was it State of the Program report. So, Christy?
It's on. Oh, it's on. Yeah. Trying to see if I can master this mic. Where's the right position to far enough away? Okay. So, this report out, it varies every year. Some numbers I throw out, and I will throw some numbers out, but it's really no rhyme or reason on this report this year. But please ask us questions, and I know we're going to have an opportunity to do so. Overall set aside though has been going up. Back pre-COVID in 2019 it was $705,000. In 24 it was $823,000. So we have, we've recovered, we've shifted, we've expanded. The cash balance as of February, which is the 21.3%, is sitting around $1.1 million. And again, I contribute a lot of that because of the one-time infusion that the director gave us for modernization that allowed our cash balance report, or cash balance to increase, which is going to enable us to, again, to expand. Set aside average was up about 33%. Gross sales in 24 was up about 12%, and it's at $16.75 million. Rest areas, and we talked about this yesterday, been a lot of changes in rest areas. And while the changes have been great for the reopened ones and the people back to work, we have to be conscientious that there are rest area operators that are shutting down for an extended period of time. Their livelihood, it's going to be a year. In the end, it'll be for the best, but you got to think of those operators that are shutting down. But 9 cannelis have been remodeled and opened. 10 secondary rest areas have been remodeled. Machines inside the buildings now. This includes 6 secondaries that we were currently operating. 3 new secondaries where vending was not present, and we are now temping, which is Megs and Van Wert. I think that's Josh and Dwayne. And 1 in Pickaway, which it's inside, but Coke is still running that one. 4 rest areas that are slated to close in July, Butler and Auglaize. 6 rest areas closing in September. So 10 slated to close in 2025 and open in 2026. And this is as of March 5th. We all hope that ODOT stays on schedule, but it doesn't always happen. I always say ODOT construction project and IT builds, you have to add some time into them. Big book. The big book, we do that every year, and it shows the health of each facility, and we send that to OVRC every year. And then this year we also sent the RSA 15, which is our federal report. If anyone wants those reports, please reach out to us. Please reach out to Kim. We're more than willing to share those reports. And I don't know, for the new people too, the RSA 15, that's a report that every single SLA in the country has to do, and it talks about the earnings of the operators. It talks about expenditures. The revenue, the expenditures, it talks about trading. So it is a very interesting report that talks about the health of our VEP program. High profile sites, and I know I talked last year about customer service, and I know Michael talked about it yesterday, and I said last year, we have to move the needle, our reputation. I know I focus a lot too on, we always hear, and I'm tired of saying it too, high profile, high profile. Well, quite frankly, I think every single person's business in here is high profile. It should be high profile whether you are at an ODOT garage, or you're at a state house, or you're at a state building. It's very important to provide good customer service and to make sure that you know, the reputation of your business and the program is positive. We've been getting complaints and repetitive complaints from facilities, and we've been working with the consultants and the operators, and we're here to try to help. You know, and there's no business in the world is perfect, and no one's asking for that. But when we hear that there's expired products that are months old, not days or weeks, but months, that's an issue. When we hear that there's one building and with one operator, and there's different pricing depending on what floor you're on. And I don't think that's on purpose, it just happens. It's just trying to be, you know, elevated and consistent, and we just need to be conscientious about that. I know, and this will probably be discussed later, branded machines at universities. So we have, and I'm so proud, I know Annette is too, and she started this on the national level. We have more of a presence at colleges and universities than any other state, by far. And I think we've made some great inroads there. It's hard work. The university routes are very hard, limited, if any, storage. You got OU that's got, you got terrain issues. It's hard. And the way that works is that we go in there, we agree to follow the pouring rights, because the pouring rights, the exclusivity of the pouring rights gives millions to the universities. And we use their branded machine, whether that's Coke or Pepsi. And there have been issues throughout the state with older machines, broke down machines. We can't have Schaefer go and repair them because right now our contract says that they can only work on state-owned equipment. Now that is something, and I think we can work with the committee when we put out the next maintenance and repair. Maybe we can look into that, where if there's emergencies that they could possibly look into that. But us buying brand new machines to replace the branded machines at all colleges and universities, it's just not feasible. So we need to work together. We are working with any data that we can get that we can then bring to the university, like, hey, this machine's been down 3 or 4 times, and the response of when you come out there to fix it is not great, it took this long, this is a high profile area, my sales average this, it was down. Any type of data that I can have, that I can bring to the university, put pressure on that bottler to fix or replace that machine is very helpful. Trying to come up with solution-based solutions, data-based solutions, data-driven solutions, to move the needle and to make this. Because what I want more than anything is for the operators to make money and to provide great customer service. And if we do that, that's our goal. Wright Pat Air Force Base, again, I know the committee's been well aware of this. We got into an arbitration situation with them, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years ago on 2 issues. One was the utility payment, which we quit paying utilities based off that 6th Circuit. And the second issue is APES, which is the Army Air Force
Exchange service.
And APES at Wright Pat and nationally, you know, they used to just have these exchange stores where you had to have a military ID, could be a civilian, and you could go in and you could purchase items. Well, then APES decides, well, we're just going to start putting vending in micro markets anywhere we want, without going to Randolph-Shepherd priority first. And I know that there is a national lawsuit out of Texas that NABM is working on, and we talked to them, we talked to Terry, but we're like, we can't wait. We've got to act, because we have operators in our program that are suffering right now. So we were going to do federal arbitration. It was going to be, it kept on moving, it was going to be last month, but we came up with a settlement. We settled with them. And the result of that settlement is threefold. 1, we're not responsible for utilities. 2, we're taking over 37 machines, APES machines that they had dropped, sometimes right really close to our operators' machines. taking over 2 micro markets, and there might be some other opportunities for micro markets coming down the line. And most importantly too, that they now know, and it's on paper, that any opportunity that comes to us first for assessment and evaluation. So. Our legal team has worked very, very hard on this, and I do think that it's good for us and hopefully for the nation. Hopefully others will follow suit. SLA priorities, which I guess are priorities, but the priorities for this coming year. UT main campus beverages, they have an RFP out right now. Their current agreement ends June 30th, and we're taking over. Snacks, they have come to us right in the midst of the pandemic, and they got into another agreement that I believe that expires next year, and that's fine. We get beverages this year and snacks next year. But that's another university. That's huge. We're going to continue the modernization project, and very excited about that. That has been stretched out a little bit more, but it's okay. My staff will tell you that I go to Schaefer, they want to keep me away from Schaefer. They're like, you're not allowed to go, because I go there and I'm like, there's a lot of machines here, and why aren't they out? But there's a schedule, and it's the logistics of it. And then I'm like, we don't want to pay for it until it goes out, because that's when the warranty starts. But it is, and we're trying to, Oracle's done a very good job of salvaging the existing machines, which, again, we're the state, it's a process, we don't always like the process, but we have to follow the process, which is working with DAS, and there's paperwork. We are getting some monies back now for the salvaged equipment, so that's good, but it's a logistical jigsaw puzzle. We're going to work with the committee on potentially expanding into Elkton Federal Prison, and we're following up with NASA up in Cleveland. I know there's also rumors federally that between us and I think Kentucky or Tennessee for the NASA headquarters. So, that's additional opportunity. We're going to work with the committee on the rules. We've been talking about rules. There's been a couple rules that we know we have to work on. Rule 3, which is the selection process, and also inventory. We've been talking about inventory, and we've been bringing in other states, going to blast, talking to other operators on how other states do inventory, and then bringing in and involving VR more and maximizing that funding source. Secondary rest areas, and those, we still have quite a few that is run by Coke. I did a survey last fall. I think I'm going to probably get that back out in the next week or so. I think Annette and I talked, we really want to take those over. I don't know, I'm going to say the work group possibility. What do you think of that?
Well, the full committee was part of that too. The committee voted to take those over once the Coke contract is up.
And the Coke contract's up a year from March, so this past March. I need to inform DAS in October we're not renewing, but I need guarantees that we've got operators that want to take this business over. and some of them are very, very profitable. Some of them are a little farther away, and those are the ones that I'm afraid of. But even if you have an operator that doesn't want to run them, they can always subcontract them out themselves. I know Dwayne's doing that with a couple properties in Toledo, if it's just not profitable. But we have to figure out a way to offload Coke and for our operators to run that. Currently, we have 6 facilities that are being temporarily run, so that's 6 jobs. Again, we've got some that we're really trying to right size right now and bring back online. I know Yvette, I think you're gonna do a great job at OU.
Yes.
So, and we've got quite a few other ones as well. Training.
Yes, we did.
5 new licensed operators in this federal fiscal year. I think that's the most we've had since COVID, like in a fiscal year. It really is good. I think last year the total was 4. We have 13 currently in assessment and training. We do have specific needs, and we're going to, Lindsay and I are going, and we've already started working with the VR counselors in the VR regional offices. We really have a need, Athens, the southeast area of the state, Dayton, that's a bright path, and Toledo. Those are the areas that, you know, we really, and we tell people, you know, anyone coming in, if you're willing to move, and I know a lot of you guys over the years have moved, but those are where I think the jobs are going to be. So, and that was pretty much it. I'm wondering if anyone has questions for me, or do you want to wait until the?
I'll do my part,
Yep.
and then we'll do questions all around.
I literally have the mic right by my stomach, my belly button, and that actually works.
Okay. Thanks, Christy. I don't have a ton to add as far as updates from the committee. Christy gave a pretty big, good recap of what's been going on for the last year. A couple of things I will say. The secondaries, absolutely. We do want to take those over. We believe that those are monies that should be in the pockets of blind vendors running them. We're hoping to make jobs. We know that there's going to be some side attachments, something that we're going to look at and try and figure out what the best way to put those together. We're hoping that we can get people to run them all over the state. I disagree with the idea that that's absolutely necessary. I will say that the governor has a lot of input, a lot of caring. The rest areas is one of his pet projects, and especially the welcome centers and stuff. It would be awesome, and I think we should try to strive to have blind vendors filling the machines, because that not only looks good for the state, it looks good for our program when they're the welcome centers. If there's some of them out there that is just not feasible for us to run, I think that we could waive those. If there's no subcontract, that's my opinion. And I believe that a governor whose first act in his office was to sign disability inclusion, who gave us all this money coming into the program, would agree that we shouldn't give up this opportunity just because we can't find somebody to run 1 or 2 places. So that's what we're going to work on, get this secondary stuff going, and hopefully by next spring have that, and hopefully have some opportunity for some jobs and for some advancement, side attachments for some folks. The rules, Christy mentioned the rules. She's absolutely correct. We do need to do something with the rules. We've come across some issues with selections. We have a lot of issues with inventory. And we're going to talk about the issue that Yvette brought up this morning. But in general, we need to do something with inventory because of the funding. We are no longer able to use, well, we never should have been using, we'll put it that way, set aside and match dollars to provide initial inventory. So something has to give in our rules, because right now, by rule, the program is responsible for providing that. So we need to work out a way around that. Using VR is the ideal solution. Their monies are allowed to help people, new facilities, people going into facilities. There's just a lot of logistics that needs worked out of that. And we haven't quite come up with solutions for that. That's why Christy mentioned we are looking at other states, seeing some of the things that they're doing and trying not to reinvent the wheel on it. So that's going to be a big project upcoming for the committee. We have been caring a lot about growth. Christy mentioned, I talked about the secondaries, NASA, Elkton, universities. Universities are that is our saving grace in Ohio right now. I was just thinking of the number of facilities we have now around that 70, 75-ish area. When I came in the program, we probably had about 130. So we have shrunk, but a lot of those were tiny, teeny little facilities too that we lost that we've put together, and some places have closed. And you guys all know the history on that. Universities is something Ohio should take absolute pride in. It is one of the saving graces of our Mini Randolph-Shepard Act. I'm not sure of this. I believe we have more university business in Ohio than the rest of the country combined, as far as Randolph-Shepard goes. It might be pushing it. There might be a little bit more, but there's no other state that I know of. Some of them have one, maybe two opportunities at universities. I don't know of anyone that's doing them like we are. No one's even close. Yeah, it's absolutely something to be proud of. And so we want to keep those opportunities, and we want to go. I said it some time ago, it should be our job, our goal in Ohio, that every vending machine at a publicly funded college or university is being filled by a blind person. And that's something we need to strive for, because that's our future. So that's what, as we're moving along, there's financial reasons, obviously. We can't just jump in and take everyone over. That's why we're doing them 1 or 2 a year. The working out through their contracts as their contracts in, taking them over. This is something we have been successful at, and we're going to continue to be. They're hard jobs, though, and that's why we need to, when Christy mentioned, targeting areas like Southeast Ohio, Toledo, some of these areas that we don't have a lot of people sitting around waiting for jobs. They're brutal jobs, but they're very lucrative. Anyone looking at a big book can see that. So they're awesome opportunities. Those are the main things we've been working on. Obviously, there's other issues that come up. We are working with the Attorney General's office right now. Earlier this year, the General Assembly passed a law that allows certain groups, and the OVRC is one of them, to meet virtually. That is due to the Sunshine Act, the Open Meetings Act. We were not allowed to do that except for during the pandemic. There were some exceptions made. But we had to meet in person. We are working on that. At the last meeting, the committee decided that we still thought it was important enough to meet in person for regular meetings. The committee felt that most members felt fairly strongly about that. But this will give us opportunities to participate once again in subcommittees, which will be part of the open meetings. They'll be public, but people won't have to travel for them. We'll be able to use that virtual component so that people can do the work of the committee between meetings and be transparent and follow all the rules that we're supposed to follow. And if there's special meetings. We don't have those very often, but sometimes if an incident comes up, our members are not reimbursed, so the travel can be problematic, and just giving the time for them. Probably when we really dig into the rules, we'll have to have some special meetings. because there's just not enough time during regular meetings to hit something so large with the day-to-day issues that we already have to deal with at the regular meetings. So that's something we're working on right now that has not been approved yet. One of the regulations that we have to follow is in our bylaws to have approved language in order to hold meetings virtually. So we're working on that. When that happens, obviously that will be available to anybody who wants to do it. But in the meantime, even when committee members have to be there at regular meetings, I hope all of you know that you can attend virtually. Love to have you in person. But you can also attend virtually, listen on the phone, and know what your committee is working on. That's about it, unless there's a committee member that knows of something major that I forgot, as far as the update goes. Okay.
I don't have no update, but I did want to thank a couple of people who worked with me on the program growth work group, Tom Barron, Mott, and Sally, as we worked to get these universities online, to get them up and running. I wanted to just quickly recognize both of them and thank them. We all put in a lot of work, so I'm just glad it's going really well.
Thank you, Frank, absolutely. A lot of hands go into doing this program, and they're not always committee members. We have a lot of folks that do volunteer their time outside of the committee to help with these issues, so thank you, Frank. So that brings us then to open forum, but before we get to that, I want to address what Yvette mentioned this morning, and I want to give the Bureau a chance to actually answer that. Is there anything in place that we are not doing dates now on transitional inventories?
So I think it's something that has popped up here in the last couple of years. I think Kelsey Burrier probably started it. She's one of our very most detailed consultants, and Scott has adopted that process, as well as Ava Marie. I don't know that it's happened consistently everywhere, and that's definitely something we can work on as far as recording each date of each product, just so that you've got record of that, but it's definitely something we can make a consistent process going forward.
So, we can do that?
First of all, I've worked with both of those consultants, and they've always recorded dates. Okay, and I've been in this program for 34 years. Let's not mislead the new people thinking that dates are not something that we don't usually do. We've always done it. You never should go into a facility. Either you're leaving or taking over, and those dates are not recorded. Because the leaving operator needs to have proof of what they left. The incoming operator needs to know what they have. The consultants should always, those are, the consultant's job is to be our help, okay? And if you're not recording the dates, making sure of what's left in that location is right, in date, in order for the incoming operator, you're doing a disservice, okay? Let's not make these people believe that this is not something. The change is we're no longer recording dates during transition. And what I would say is do not sign once you do the transition, do not sign that document. Because once you sign the document saying you're accepting that, you're stuck with it. And then the outgoing operator, I can leave you 7 cases of Frito-Lay that has maybe 30 days or so many days on it, months on it. But how do you prove it? And then the incoming operator can say, hey, within 7 days, I can tell you to take this off my inventory because this was outdated. How do you prove what was left and what you have? I mean, you know what I mean? And you guys, let's be honest
They're doing what's right. Those two consultants are doing the date. What Sally said is we're gonna go back, we're gonna make sure everyone is doing the dates consistently. We agree with you, Yvette, we do. The other thing that would help transitions, which we are bad at doing, is some consultants are better than others. I know that Kelsey's good. Is that we need to hold to the rules too. Like, people should be bringing, you know.
It's not in the rules.
It's not in the rules
No,
anymore.
but it needs to go back in.
It needs to go back in, to bring receipts at there, and not
And
to,
the time.
you know, and the time, you have 7 days, right? Is it 7?
No, I'm saying our consultants need to do a better job at being more timely
Yes.
in getting those
Yes.
transition packets back to you.
Yes.
It's been unacceptable
Yes.
this year.
So there's a lot of room of improvement, and so yes, date counting, we need to record dates, but we need people to bring receipts, and we need to, you know, operators have 7 days to say what they don't want. And then we should be turning that paperwork around quickly. So you've got, that's our commitment, our marching orders. Okay. So I know that Chris Johnson had something.
Hey, and do you want to switch microphones since this one's garbage and that
Okay.
one actually works?
Okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna.
Something right quick.
Chris Johnson over here is his hand.
Do you need a
Yeah,
microphone?
we-
You just want to.
No, I don't really need the microphone. If anybody can't hear me, they probably need to be, have their hearing checked. My name's Chris Johnson. I've been an operator for 36 years. My friend Mott sitting behind me, or beside me, has been an operator for 50 years. With all due respect to my good friend Yvette, it has not been my personal experience that expiration dates, which is what you're talking about, expiration dates, code dates, are recorded on an inventory. Generally, my experience has been, if Mott and I are doing an inventory, that we establish at the beginning of the inventory how much time the incoming operator expects to be reasonable. And I would probably say to Mott something like 2 weeks. And that's for things that are in the machines. And then a longer standard for product that's in the storage. And then if we come across something that's, say, 5 days out, I'm gonna, as the incoming operator, look at the location and say, does this place look like it's very busy or does it look like it's slow? No, I don't want those because it looks like it's slow. And then they have to take them out, they're not counting. But this is, in my 36 years of experience, and I've done a lot of inventories, some places, a lot of tents and so forth, we are not recording expiration dates at every inventory. It's generally, this is part of why you have an operator and their assigned employee, they're to check the date. And then you've got the exiting operator and their employee, they're to verify what's being discussed. And the state person's main job there is to just kind of recognize that, you know, there's been general agreement achieved that things are functioning according to rules and people are being treated, you know, respectfully. If I say to Mott, I want this taken off, he doesn't try to, you know, argue the question. But that's been my experience, and I don't know, I've done at least 15, 20 years.
It looks like this is something that we should talk about, because I've seen it both ways too, but I don't like, and the Bureau folks have said they have their marching orders with it, if an operator wants it notated, I would think that's appropriate to have happen too. If folks are comfortable going through it themselves, then maybe they can skip it that time. It's something for us to talk about and see what we can come up with.
Yes, it's Curtis.
Go ahead, Curtis.
And about inventory, you know, what I don't understand, we have an OVRC committee and we have a bureau. So some of this stuff is common sense. Why don't we have a procedure in place in advance? It don't have to be in the rules, but it's something that everybody know in advance when they come into the program. This is the way we do inventory, and it's consistent with every consultant. Kelsey shouldn't do it one way, somebody else shouldn't do it another way. That's the problem with this program, is that we do not have consistency, and a lot of this stuff is really common sense. You know, if you're doing inventory, of course, I don't expect a consultant to look at every bottle of Coke to get a date. But I would expect for the consultant to be there to assist with the transition of the incoming and outgoing, and everybody is responsible for dates. If I'm total or if I'm partial, it is my responsibility for what I'm gonna take over. So I'm gonna bring my wife and I'm gonna bring a sighted person, because I'm not gonna have nobody ship me on inventory by mixing up product of bottles old and new, and the consultant only see the new date. But then when you put it in your machine, you say, what? This is a month old, because they don't mix the product. I know what people do with inventory, because that's why I buy my own inventory. When I transition, I'm taking mine because I know my dates. But it's everybody's responsibility that's involved. I can be your consultant. Yeah, I've done inventory. I used to be a warehouse manager. I know how to check dates, but if people hiding stuff and bringing stuff in late, oh yeah, it's 15, and they putting the new stuff up front, and the consultant not going to the back of the row, because I know people don't always do first in and first out. So some people just get the new product and push it right into the front of the machine, and the old stuff is still keep being pushed to the back. Yeah, when you're doing these Bev Maxes, for me, yeah, I'm gonna take out them 5 bottles and put 3 new ones behind it. But for other people, when I watch them, they sitting there, they putting the new ones right in front of the old ones. And you expect for a consultant to go in there and go through the machines? No. They give you 7 or 14 days where you can recheck, and if you find something, inform them. So it's something that both sides need to agree on. It's not that complicated, but have somebody there to assure you if you're not cited, to help you. Don't put it all on a consultant. This is teamwork. So that's all I have to say. Make it a process, put it in paper, and everybody be consistent, and this is what we agree on.
Thanks, Curtis. Anyone have? Well, okay, go ahead, you're back.
I appreciate that, Curtis, and I do agree with you for us having consistency, but the consultant is there to verify the product. In every inventory I have done since I've been in this program, the consultant is counting the product to verify how many bottles and they are looking at the dates. So I don't say it's 100%, but most people in this program got into this program and vision is transitioning. And we're assuming that everybody has a wife, everybody has a husband, and everybody has someone that can do that for them. Okay, so yeah, if you have somebody, that's one thing, but if you don't, your consultant is the conduit between you and the Bureau, and you need that consultant to be working on your behalf. And that's for the outgoing and the income. You know, and it keeps us from having issues, adding more issues to our inventory process.
Okay. Anyone have anything else on this or bring up another topic?
Hello, my name is Mark Olbrich, and
Mark, okay.
I run it's a smaller operation. It's the Sharonville Post Office. And one of the things that I do is I track my
We can hear him up here, Lindsay.
We can hear him?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so what I do when my stocking, I actually count all my items. I know that all operators don't have the availability to do that because some of them may have 30, 40 machines where I only have 9, obviously. But it allows me to do what I call buy to date, which means that like when I buy my pop, I check all the dates on the pop that I buy. Once again, that's not always a ability for operators to do. I understand that because you might be buying at the ring Coke and Pepsi and what they bring to you. But what it does allow me to do is mathematically I can see what I sell. So when I'm stocking my chips or my candy bars or whatever, I know that I can base my trends and I can say, okay, I sold 3 of these, I'm stocking 3 of these this day, 3 of these this day, 3 of these this day. I sold 9 of those a week. So for an operator particularly going into a location, it may be advisable for them to count the inventory, also count the sales and do the simple math, and then you can say, well, I've got 3 cases of this, and if I'm only selling 9 of these a week, there's no way that this is going to sell in X amount of time. So it's just a simple mathematical approach that may be of some use in the future as far as accounting and counting the inventory.
I normally would not have anything to say. I normally would not have anything to say about inventory because I was in my last location for like 28 years. But this last summer, I moved. I actually got the call on my birthday this last year that I'd gotten the locations up on 271. When I did that inventory out of there with Kelsey, we were involved. Missy, I was right there. I was hearing dates. My driver was involved, who was cited. You know, everybody was involved. And Marie was there, Kelsey was there. There was involvement. But when I went out of 445, I was not allowed to touch a product, and that was with Scott. It was a totally different. Nobody else was allowed to go in there. He did it. There was a total inconsistency of those 2 inventories. And I often wondered, what is the correct way? I liked Kelsey's way because I knew what was going on. Scott didn't even tell me what he was doing. He wasn't even saying numbers or anything. So as a totally blind person, I sit and talk to 2 janitorial staff that I've known for 14 years and become friends with, and I'm still friends with to this day. But that was the inconsistency at my location, so it's not a consistent thing.
Who was that speaking?
That was Connie Standing
Connie
Clear.
Standing Clear. Okay.
Kurt, did you have something?
I don't need that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong in thinking this, but, you know, whatever happened with the incoming operator talking to the outgoing operator, and I know you can't necessarily take over their business or go into a building with them, you know, before they leave, but you could call them on the phone and talk to them about, you know, how much product you're going through, what are you going through, you know, work out a deal with them as to where they're not leaving you a bunch of product that doesn't sell or whatever, and you can, you know, you can start with fresh product when you come in there.
Who was that speaking?
That was Kurt Lemaster.
Kurt Lemaster, okay.
I tell them, nobody's wrong. I tell them, run it down. Run it down.
Yep.
Run it down.
Well, it does look like there's some things we can work on with the inventory, but that's always an issue. Inventory have always come up as issues, and that's part of the reason, and the big reason why we're looking at the rules is the financial aspect of it. But obviously the procedures are something that, with every rule, I think we've changed it some, and it looks like there'll be some changes with this one too. So that's absolutely something we are listening. Chris is taking good notes here on concerns, and we're going, you know.
Thank you.
I did an inventory once with Brian White. Those of you remember Brian, great operator. He's someday going to be one of our Hall of Famers, I know. I did an inventory once with him. He came in and he said, "Hey, what was your initial?" I said, "About $9,000. He looked around and said, "Yeah, looks about like that there." We shook hands, agreed on it, and left. So, I mean, and the Bureau was fine with that, and they said if the operators agree, cool. Now, it doesn't always work that way. Obviously, not everybody's as reasonable as Brian was, or I like to think I am. But it worked out. One of us probably got shorted. I mean, obviously it wasn't the right amount, but we thought it was close enough that we were both happy with it. So there's definitely things that can be done and we can look at. Yes, we can.
I'm sorry, I have to over here that I've worked with Scott, he counts it himself to verify, to make sure what he's putting on the paper is what you have. So I don't think, in my opinion, that he was doing anything other than trying to be thorough.
I don't think he did anything wrong.
No, yeah.
It was just such a difference.
Yeah, but I will say this, as far as how they count between him and Kelsey Berrier and making sure the dates and everything, they both done, I work with both of them, they both do the same thing in that instance. You know, so that's all I was
Okay. Anything else? Oh, I'm sorry, Connie.
Sorry, my point was it was just so different.
Yeah.
Because one was so hands-on and the other one, wait, get out of the way, I'll do it.
Basically, someone you should be involved.
It was just different. It was just, and I haven't done inventory with somebody, you know, else outside of my employee and I, for probably, like I said, 28 years I was on I-75. So, it's just a different sort of thing.
Okay.
Julie Russell has something.
Okay, Julie. Oh, run, Lindsay. The weekends are exercise.
Got the track shoes on.
Yeah.
Hello. Years ago, because I'm old, Diane, Agnes Arian, and I did a fun thing. The BOPS, which is very different now, had a fantastic inventory report on it. And what we would do is she would just count it, put in the new figure. If we didn't want it, if something was out of date, which I think there was only one thing close, we just didn't put it on there. And then at the end, she pressed the button, and then she pressed print, and I had my inventory. And so I wondered why that never got carried forward.
I don't know, because it's still there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but it doesn't work the same. I cannot do it. When this new, I can do the program.
But why can't that be perfected then? And it gives you inventory, and if you have an out of date, just simply don't put it in.
All right. Anything that anyone else would like to bring up?
Hey, Madam Chair.
Frank.
I'd like to just make a suggestion to our management staff, and I don't know if they'll be able to do this when they end up talking. I know we have 2 universities around the state that we have pouring issues with the pouring rights agreements. One is the University of Cincinnati, the other one seems to be at OU Athens with Coke and UC with Pepsi. And a lot of it has to do with maintenance and repair. I was going to suggest that if our agency has the opportunity to meet with UC and OU Athens, if they could try and get into their, get them to put into their pouring rights agreement for maintenance and repair on machines that they try and put in, and I'm going to mirror our Schaefer contractor, that, you know, they need to respond within 72 hours or something of that nature to try and get those machines back up and running and online.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion, but wanted to throw it out there.
Jeff told us something.
Yeah, I get that. So I have 2 things real quick. One is, it's gonna be for the Bureau, the second part will. This money that we have in our cash.
Who is that speaking?
Right now, I just want everyone to recognize that that's not a lot of money in BE terms. You look at the difference between the figure that Christy gave in set-aside collections and what we did last year. If you adjust that for the massive inflation that we've had, it really is similar. You know what I mean? So in a way, we're just kind of back to treading the water here, and we will get growth. When the rest area project's done, then we'll get growth. To that end, though, I know right now you cannot, as an agency, spend money on certain things. What are we doing if I need new locks, or I need 6 coils, or I need shelving, or a cart, or whatever? Is there something that you guys could have in place that we now have the responsibility to buy it? What's the limit? Can we add a bunch of stuff together to hit the limit? I don't really, I know I've heard this from many operators, I had to go buy that myself. Why didn't the Bureau buy it? Well, they don't have the money to buy it. So Christy, can you give us kind of a flavor for what we should expect? You know?
Who's that speaking?
That was just so there was a
Oh, that's
tag
what I
by
thought.
RSA a couple years ago that said anything under $1,000 was
not considered equipment, it was considered supply. And that we were not, it's not about how much money you have, it's what bucket it's in and the rules behind it. But remember we had like this one COVID some money, so we were using that. And then we have a little bucket of, we still have some unassigned income for state from that Coke that also funds the insurance. So we still have been buying locks.
And a lot of these parts, I have a big mouth too. A lot of these parts we've been able to buy under like the maintenance and repair. So like a lock, we consider a replacement part. The coils, we can consider a replacement part. So we've been able to buy those under a different.
Okay, so here's the question.
Yes.
Does Schaefer have to come out and run a service call in order to get that? Because you're putting it under maintenance and repair, which generally means they're coming out and doing that. So if somebody needed 4 new locks, or they needed more coils, or whatever, that's a service call that Schaefer has to come out and perform? Or can you just have Schaefer give us, I'm struggling with the correlation between a service call and the parts that someone might need, not really for a service call, but just for the continued operation of their business, you know?
Yeah, good question. We've been able to do it under the maintenance and repair, just like if your compressor went out and Schaefer had to come out and replace that compressor. Some people are comfortable replacing locks themselves, some people are not. So it depends, I think, on the operator individually. I know, you and Chris Johnson and Mott and a lot of these seasoned operators were able to just give you the locks and you can do it yourself. But there are maybe some operators that don't know how to put a coil in properly or change a lock. So it's individualized.
Okay, but I don't mean to press you, but so Schaefer obviously gets paid mileage and hourly rate and stuff like that. So if I called you, if you were my consultant, I called and said, hey, I need 6 new locks. Can you still just have me pick those up from Schaefer or have them send them to me, and you can still use it as a service ticket?
Yes, it's under a repair, like a replacement part.
Okay,
so you can pick it up, or your consultant can pick it up and deliver it.
I wanted to understand how it was happening, and when I hear a service ticket, I think of someone coming out to perform something.
Yes.
Not me just picking some. I have no problem with it, that's great, but I was just concerned that people were gonna have to start planning in their budgets. Hey, I'm gonna need new shelving, I'm gonna need a new 4-wheel cart or a new mag liner, or I wanna change products, so I need 8 different coils. That's all, because that stuff's expensive.
So
there was a motion about carts and totes.
Totes and carts, I believe, there was a motion that it was supposed to be on the operator.
The cart's been buying them.
If they have an open case. If they have an open case, and if you're a brand new operator, we're saying, but Jeff, I hear you, and we've been working very hard to not have the operator shoulder it while we have some funds, and if we can do maintenance and repair, we'll do that. We work very hard. I think it might get to a point where we have to have consistency and a delineation of what is responsible. And like when we buy these new machines, we're buying them with card readers, but not having them installed, and locks. So when we buy new machines, we have some on hold because that they're part of the machine. We're still following the rules. I'm sorry. We're following the rules. But I hear you. Because then it gets confusing to your point, and I think this was mentioned before. If operators start buying the locks and the carts, then do they bring it with them when they leave? Do they keep them there? Right. If you buy them, you should keep them. And so then you have this mixture, and that gets complicated. But Jeff, I hear you.
Okay.
And we are working on it. I mean, yep.
This is mine.
Okay, go ahead, Mott.
This is what I talked about before. When this meeting's over, nobody's going to remember this. And there's a lot of people that are not at this meeting. So, the committee, and I fault them and I fault the agency. This issue has been, Jeff, he's just, he could have been at the last meeting or the meeting before that and asked the same question and gotten the same answers. There are answers. Chrissy, if you press her like Jeff just did, she'll have something to tell you about this. But not everybody understands. They don't know until their specialist says, oh no, you don't have to pay for that. Or, oh, you do have to pay. What do you mean I have to pay for that? You know, we should be able to understand what our responsibilities are, what we are responsible to pay for, and what we're responsible not to pay for, and under what circumstances. And if it means sending out a circular, several pages available in accessible format, we're entitled to know that. Everybody is entitled to know that. And if it changes, we're entitled to know what those changes are. Thank you.
John Hill was first.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a brand new operator, and anything under $1,000 I would be responsible for, correct? So what happens if a brand new operator takes over a location and needs things, and the brand new operator doesn't have the funds to get it? What happens?
Well, brand new operators should have an open VR case, but again, to Mott's point, we will get something in writing about locks and carts for sure. You know, there was a motion a couple years ago that totes were on the operator and you can expense that off, but we will get something out to everyone.
And I'm just going to reiterate, VR, vocational rehabilitation, for all of us have gone through the process or we wouldn't be here, that is a very good resource. Not everybody has open cases, and honestly it takes a good chunk of time to get a case open and get through that. I know that's something we've talked about, trying to expedite that process for established BE operators, because obviously we don't need to go through eligibility and those type of things that a lot of folks coming newly in the door have to prove. But someone like you, John, if you take over a facility, totes, carts, locks, all of these things that we are talking about, your VR counselor should provide for you. And they can even help now with some of the expenses that you initially come up with. Valuable resource. But to Mott's, exactly what Mott said is true. Not everybody knows that. And the committee and the Bureau both need to do a better job at making sure people know that. That actually should be part, Lindsay, of the training. People should know that VR is still there for them when they go into their facility. Even if it's a little while between the time when they got licensed and their first facility, that case, that is services should still be available to them.
Hey, Sally.
Yes, sir.
So, for those of us who, for example, can put our own locks in,
yes,
when we call that into our consultant, do we let them know then that we'll pick the product up from Schaefer, or?
you absolutely can, and that saves a lot on shipping. When Schaefer ships something, it's this ungodly fee. So if you're able to pick it up, wonderful. If not, one of us who is local in Columbus, we can even pick it up and mail it to you much cheaper than if Schaefer ships it. So absolutely, you can tell them that you'll pick it up.
Okay.
Brian Ross, hold on, Brian Ross has something.
We've got quite a few people over here.
Okay, go ahead. Whoever.
Does anybody have evidence of VR paying for these parts and stuff?
What's the question?
Does anybody have any evidence of them paying for that stuff? I just want to know, the VR, paying for the carts, lock, all this little stuff. Did anybody's counselor ever pay for that for them?
Sheila?
Yep.
100%. That's all I'm meant. No.
100% they paid for a cart for me. What else did they pay for? Something else. And mind you, I got my license in 2023. My case just closed a month ago. So I went a full year, and they kept asking me, "What do you need? What do you need? How can we help you?"
Awesome.
Awesome.
Okay.
Reach out to them. I'm telling you, they are an awesome resource from beginning to end. They help me.
And we can do a better job of communicating with the counselors too on that, the BSVI counselors. We did have an incident, they can't buy product yet, not yet, but anything else like under 1,000, Dollar Supply, they can buy, so.
They can't do coin usually, right?
Huh?
They can't do coin.
Coin, yeah, we don't have anything in process. I will tell you, we've had one or two operators in the past that have asked for coin and then they had to go because right now I think that there's some rule that VR can't give out cash, but if they go to a third party.
They reimburse you.
Yeah.
That's how I got one of my
okay.
cards.
No, cash, coin.
Oh, no.
Coin. We do need to figure out a mechanism for that too, because again, as RSA, that's an allowable thing for VR, so we've gotta figure out the mechanism. Yeah.
We got Scott, Curtis, Chris.
Michael wanted to.
All right, take it in that order, there you go.
Chris from Scott. At one point, when new machines were purchased, credit card readers were included with the new machine. Is that still the status? And then the second part of it is if we're expanding and opening new machines that don't have existing credit card readers, whose responsibility is it to purchase the credit card reader?
We're not having any operator pay for credit card readers right now, at all. Because again, then you have two paths. You have some people that would own them, some that would be owned by the Bureau, then you got the maintenance of them. We're still buying credit card readers, and we are trying to buy them with all new machines, or if there's any untethered monies, pots of monies that we have to go to, or maintenance and repair, we are buying this. We're not having operators buy credit card readers.
Okay, thank you.
Curtis?
My question is just a little clarity from Sally
Yes, sir.
on picking up items from Schaefer, and I guess that's trying to avoid a service call or mileage or whatever. But them items are under $1,000. How does that work? Is that a workaround? Because if we can work around like that, we can get carts from Schaefer that's under $1,000 and pick them up. But then, do we put ourselves at risk at some point of being audited for doing stuff like that?
So we're not buying carts and totes and things like that. If it's a part of the machine, we're able to replace that part. But, you know, we wouldn't be buying carts or totes or shelving.
Okay, but as long as it's parts for the machine. And just one other thing to think about some of the operators, because I try to avoid unnecessary service calls when Norm come out, but if I do need coils or locks or filter paper for my coffee machine, I'll let my consultant know, hey, when Norm out, can he leave this inside my machine so that I can get it and I'll do it myself. So if he working on a compressor for something else, or either working on a Dev Max machine, those items that you can do yourself, if it's not urgent, just ask them to leave it in one of your machines and you can get it when you go to that location.
Yep.
Chris Johnson. We've had discussions here about a couple matters of policy and procedure. Policy and procedures related to inventory, policy and procedures related to what I would call operational supply items and vending machine parts and that type of thing. And really, the great concern I have is that we don't have, by my observation at the last OVRC meeting, a policy and procedures manual. And any viable organization needs a policy and procedures manual. And so I really, my experience was, and not sitting next to me confirmed this, we remember when Ron Miller would show up at OVRC meeting, he'd have a book. And he'd be able to point to, you know, it had the rules in it, but it also had other policy and procedure related items.
Had such.
When you hear that feedback, does it ever remind you of Ario's feedback?
Yeah, a lot of concerts actually.
Write the storm out, baby. Write the
Yep.
storm out.
What is that? Oh, okay.
Projector screen going up. One more vote.
All right.
All
right.
That works employee of the year for Lindsay.
Yeah.
So
fact that I really believe that the responsibility of both OVRC and advocacy and the administrative staff, but they are in very important decision-making positions. And we are not providing them with the necessary guidance if we don't have a policy and procedure.
Speech on, stop, button.
They can
Speech off.
specifically use to stand on when they make administrative decisions in the guidance of their business program staff. And this is just part of the appropriate administrative support, and it kind of creates a level playing field for us operators when there is a clearly defined set of expectations.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I was
Thank you, Chris.
I asked the chair to put that on the agenda.
I was just actually getting ready to say, Mr. Secretary, will you make a note to remind me to have that on my next agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Policy and procedures manual?
No, not yet.
Hi, I'm
Very
here.
soon.
Yes.
Hey, this is Michael Talley. Can I speak just real
Yes,
quick?
Michael, absolutely.
I apologize. I know this is your meeting, but I think that this could help your vendors feel a little bit more comfortable. So just yesterday and the day before, I had a good talk with Christy and Sally, and we're asking about rules and then policies and procedures. And they are both very committed to taking a look at those and doing the right thing. I did ask if y'all had a policies and procedures manual. She said no. I said I would certainly encourage you to do a rules, because rules have to go through state administrative law code. But the policies and procedures do not. They have to go up to RSA to get approved and come back. But it's much easier to change your policies and procedures. And so I just encouraged her, whether it's a Terry Smith or myself, to consult with someone that can maybe bring in some fresh ideas of ways things are done in other states, but then also to kind of walk through that process. And at the end of that process, even before it's sent up to RSA, I think that the vendors should have time to read it, to give feedback. There should be maybe a 30-day period for that. But then, once everything is approved, each and every vendor should be given a copy of the rules and policies and procedures in the form, the accessibility form that they choose, whether it's Braille, large Braille, or electronic. And why not electronic? That's free. Everybody should have an electronic version of that, and not in a PDF, because that is not accessible. But just know that Christy and Sally have already expressed interest and commitment to doing the right thing. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Absolutely, that'll be a really good agenda item.
Absolutely.
And Chris will make sure I have it on there.
I certainly will.
That Chris.
That is Chris. Both Chris's. Make sure I have it on there.
I will.
All the Chris's can make sure of it.
Can I, one more?
Go ahead, Chris.
There's a lot of people in the room who don't generally attend OVRC meetings. And some of you might not know who Christopher Saban is personally, but you receive emails from him with your OVRC minutes. He is the gentleman who is responsible for taking these discussions and putting them on paper or in that accessible format. And I'd like to give a thank you and a round of applause for Christopher.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Is there any way that you guys can push Schaefer? I know a couple years ago they promised when these new equipment was coming out that they were going to put together some booklets that we could see of service issues that we could take care of on our own on these machines. And yet I haven't seen them. And as it stands now, these new machines, they want you to put your phone on this thing and there is no way, a sighted person can't see this thing hardly. So is there any way you could push Schaefer to get us some manuals on these new machines so that we could do some work ourselves?
Yes. I thought a couple years ago we did send some manuals. Are you asking for like updated manuals or just like a checklist before?
For the new machines.
New machines, yes, absolutely.
Christy, the new machines have QR codes on them. So wouldn't it be
easy for the state to go in, scan those QR codes, print out a manual for each of the machines and send it to the operators.
Yep.
Might involve a file conversion.
Yes, yes.
The QR is probably gonna take.
And I think that's the suggestion, and I think that's what should be done.
John, can I ask, are the QR codes inside the machine or outside?
Inside.
Inside, okay, thank you.
Yes, that's an easy fix.
All right, I like these fixes. Anyone else?
This is Lenny. I'm in the back of the room. Anyone who's going to want any more 50/50 tickets, I'll be back here not to interrupt this meeting. So anyone who wants any extra, we're looking right now over $600 to be split.
I think Keith wanted more, didn't you?
So anyone that wants to come back here, I'll be in the back of the room.
He wants to match.
Oh, you okay?
I got Mo then Aaron.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello. I just went through inventory, so I have a couple questions and comments. So I specifically said I didn't want anything to be counted that was expired within a month. And Scott told me, because of the rules, you have to count everything, and then I have to go back the next day and count what is expired and send in an email. So I think that's like a waste of time, but he couldn't just, that time when he was counting it, he shouldn't have counted the expired stuff. As far as the credit card transfer, it's been 2 weeks and the credit card still hasn't transferred. And at that time, they unplugged the credit cards, and I thought that was a disservice to the customer. So I replugged them for 2 weeks. And then come to find out, all you need to do is just the outgoing operator can call Cannibal, give them those serial numbers and tell them, put those on hold until they get transferred.
Who was that speaking?
So I think that's a solution that needs to be implemented throughout the program. And then second to last, recyclers. I come from Michigan as an operator.
Oh, Mo.
All our machines
That's
have
Mo.
built
All right.
recyclers, but here they say it's not an essential product. I don't know if that was a motion or something, but VR won't pay for it. Neither will the Bureau. So I'd like your take on that. And lastly, I wanted to ask Mike, how do they do inventory in Alabama? Thank you.
Mike, he asked, Michael's leaving right now.
Well, I'm just going to get my bags and come
Yeah.
back in here.
He
Oh,
just
I'm
had-
sorry.
He just had a question
Oh.
on how they do inventory in Alabama.
Oh, that's a great, thank you, and thank you for that opportunity. I really think that, I don't really need that, but, okay. All right, so I'm gonna hold it, where you like, going into it. We have an escrow fund that money goes in and out of inventory wise. We have an expectation, in our policies and procedures, we have that there should be enough product to get the next incoming vendor to be able to go for 2 weeks, so that they're not scrambling to go buy merchandise and things like that. Do the vendors always do it? No, but they're supposed to. Number 2, you're supposed to leave product that has at least 14 days on there, and we have right of refusal. So if I come in and there's pastries with 4 days on them, I can say I'm not taking those until it does not go in inventory. Someone mentioned that earlier. Absolutely should not go in inventory. And then we have 2 weeks to challenge or dispute something. But we do have to produce invoices so that the incoming vendor pays only what that vendor paid. So there is a good process, there's good ways to protect the incoming and outgoing vendor. So I've been willing to sit down and work with you guys on that, or kind of just provide some suggestions. But yeah, I think that's a great question. Thank you. I just got to go get my bags out of the room because I know checkout's at 11, and so I'm just going to bring them in here and I'll be right back.
So Michael, can we get a copy of that policy and procedure? Okay, awesome.
Well, okay, and I misspoke. Hey, I don't want y'all to think. I honestly, it's rules, and even in Alabama, we are we're gonna try to do a policies and procedures manual as well. I'm working with Georgia now to go through their rules and then their policies and procedures. You always do your rules first, then you build out your policies and procedures, then you work on your bylaws. So that is the correct steps to do that. But I will absolutely be glad to share our rules with you that lays out that inventory process. Sure will.
Wait, so Sally had a suggestion that maybe we take a 10-minute break if people have to check out by 11. Do you think? What do you want, 15? What do you want? What time is it? It's 10:35.
Mike?
Yes.
Coming ahead.
Okay, is there anyone in the room who needs to check? As 11 o'clock is the checkout. Okay, boy, 10 minutes. Can people be back in 10 minutes? No. Well, try your best. Maybe we'll take a 10-minute break.
And then Aaron, I still remember you.
Okay.
I don't like it. They will be back in 10 minutes.
Still a lot of people out.
I know there are, but we can't. If we're going to have any shot of being done by 11:30 to 12.
Let's do the drawing now.
If we do the drawing now, everybody will leave. But I know that you got to be in the room to win. So. We will definitely do that at the end. Okay, we had a lot of good talk this morning. Did anyone have any other things to bring up? Oh no, Aaron, I'm sorry, before we did that,
Aaron's not back.
Pardon me?
He's not back yet.
Oh, Aaron's not back yet, so I know there's some folks over here.
John, he'll have to.
Okay, John?
I'm coming, John.
Julie first, then me.
Oh, Julie too?
Julie first.
Okay, I think he's deferring to Julie first.
You know, I have to get my parting stuff in since I'm not going to be on OVRC again. Here it is.
You got 2 months here.
Thank you, sweetie. Here it is. There's a lot of people that are passing away, unfortunately, and there's a lot of people who are retiring. So, why can't they be encouraged to donate their carts and things that they own back to the program instead of just sticking it in salvage or whatever they do with it? Why can't we make a way that we can get this stuff back into the program to people who may not be able to buy that second cart?
Absolutely. Who's that speaking? Sorry.
Write it down so the committee can consider it, right?
Now, he's taking notes.
I'm taking notes, I apologize.
That's a good idea, especially a voluntary or as we transition those facilities. If we see product, or not product, but items like that there, absolutely. It's a great idea.
Let me know when you're ready for mine.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, since we have 5 new operators and there's 15 more, then why doesn't the OVRC and the Bureau get together and create starter locations for the newbies so that way they can start gaining experience on how things are done?
Someone anyone? Okay, Chris?
John, the idea of so-called starter locations. The idea of starter locations has been discussed before, and the challenge, John, is that usually they're made up of facilities that are not highly desirable. The volume is not there, but the work is. And so it's hard to sustain those facilities, especially when you've got the variables of operators, residents, or community of residents and so forth. If you've got a starter location in Cleveland that's maybe doing $20,000 a year net proceeds, but the operator that's considering this can't justify moving from Dayton or Cincinnati to Cleveland for a $20,000 a year job with all the moving expenses and so forth. it really, they end up being, if you pardon the phrase, opportunities for blind business managers to be poor. Because they're lower.
Let him finish, John. Let him finish.
Lower earning, lower volume type of situation. And it's been floated and it hasn't worked out.
Then answer me this. How is new operators supposed to get an opportunity, with all due respect to the veterans, when the veterans are snagging everything?
Start at the bottom and work your way up.
How is a new person supposed to get their foot in the door when the veterans are snagging everything?
You heard they talked about all the facilities that are going to be coming out.
Yes. Oh, hold on, you're back. Okay, John Mack, wanted something, okay. And then Yvette. John Mack?
What?
Did you want the mic?
No.
Oh, I thought you guys said he did.
No, it was a private, it was separate.
Private conversation, he was telling him privately the answers, I guess.
Oh. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Yvette.
I want to address what you said. There's things out for bid right now, and if you're willing to move or do whatever it is you need to do, because we were told that when we came in this program. I'm from Cleveland, and I moved here to Columbus for a job with 2 children. So, if you're willing to move and to take on some of those opportunities, that's how you get a job. And it may not be in the area from where you are from, but you have to do the work in order to get that first opportunity. And I had to do it myself. So, that's how I don't think it has anything to do with the veterans. I think it has to do with you being able to see if it's worth making that move to wherever you need to go to get that job.
I agree.
Jim Lunt's in the back. Oh, Aaron.
Those are all real good things, and I don't disagree with what Yvette said, or even what John said, or even what Chris said, but the difference was, you can't move to Cleveland for a $20,000 job. But when we came in, most of us started in crap jobs. We built our experience up and we bid on better things. But in our areas where we live, those crap jobs were there. We didn't have to move. We didn't have to relocate. We were able to put our time in. Because really right now, all John, if he did would be crap anyway. It's all he's going to get. Because if it's a good job, we're all going to outbid it. So we have to really make sure that in these areas, for the new people coming in, and they're all over the area, that we have easier jobs for them. They're just not ready to take on those routes and those challenging jobs that are out there. So that's all that I think John's trying to say. Because, think about it, most of us in this room who've been doing this 25 years, we started with crap. And we built ourselves up.
Oh, Aaron, please.
Well.
Oh, Aaron, okay.
My turn. So, my question is for Sally and,
Okay, my question is for Sally and Christie. Are we not buying recyclers for machines?
We have been ordering some that come with the new machines so that we have some. Because again, those are right under that $1,000 threshold. So we're not necessarily buying them with every single machine that we purchase, but we are ordering some.
Well, my question is, I need some, and a lot of my machines do not have them, and they really need them because the customers are whining, saying, I don't want quarters back all the time. And first of all, they're too low to the ground, they're whining because they have to bend over so far to get them.
Well, that we can't help you with, that's
But, I know you can't help that, but, I mean, it is, if you have recyclers, first of all, your revenue does go up. I think it does because people like the fact that they're going to get back dollars.
Well, let's talk. We can talk with Kelsey offline and discuss which specific machines they would be most effective on. We can start there and work through that process.
And one more part.
Okay.
I really think this goes for everybody, not just me. I really think the whole entire program really needs to open up our eyes, just like Mike said yesterday. Get out of the 70s and go to some of these newer platforms, you know, like Sally and I discussed about the smart coolers and things like that. I really think it's a great idea. I think people need to do it, look into their and do some research on them. But I really think it's the way of the future for change. We got to keep up with the times. And I just really think we should really look into it. And the ice cream machine that I was talking about, that the guy was supposed to be here.
He stood us up.
Dining spoons.
Yeah. But you know, I don't know the whole circumstances, how he got invited or anything. But I still really want to try one of those. And I've suggested it over a year ago, and I haven't got anything. Not much of a response about it. You know, I've heard Kelsey say, I'll look into it. I'm going to talk to Sally or whatever. And that's all I hear. And you know, I'm paying a lot of money in service charge, and I'm not here to whine and say that I'm very grateful for what I do. I am. But I really want to try one of those. And if it fails, for me, hey, we'll pass it on down there to Jeff Toll.
Hey.
We'll pass it around. We'll pass it to somebody else. We'll pass it on to some other.
Who's that speaking?
Scott
Allen. Oh, Scott Allen. Okay.
You know, we don't have to order 50 of them.
Well, and Aaron, I think that's a good call. Just like I told you yesterday, let's let Missy be the guinea pig on these smart coolers, and then maybe you be the guinea pig on the 99 spoons. Chris.
Okay, Chris, then I'm gonna say something.
Yeah, and this is really important for everybody to know in the room. I've done some investigation about smart coolers, and there's a much higher portal fee for a smart cooler versus a regular vending machine. The portal fee, or the monthly service fee for a smart cooler is $125. Not your $5.95.
He's right.
I'm not going to try to justify why that'd be a question for Cantaloupe. I'm just telling you what the user agreement says. So if Missy's getting those in, Missy's committing to something like a 700, I think there's a half dozen of them. That's a substantial amount of monthly overhead for the operator. Now, you've got to be realistic about, where are those locations where you really see enough of a sales bump to justify that much larger fee. I also encourage BSBI to work with Cantaloupe in the way that we've been able to negotiate down the monthly portal fee to see if we can negotiate down the monthly service fee on those smart coolers. But I can tell you, it will save you, politely stated, crap tons of money to buy smart coolers instead of Bevmaxes. You're not going to spend near as much on maintenance and repair, and the initial cost is going to be less. So you really, this is a great opportunity for the program, but we need to find a way to negotiate down those fees.
One thing I could say is I forget your name. Is it
Chris?
Chris, you're right. I think in Missy's situation, she's got several of these machines, but you can take one kiosk and it will work for 4 different cabinets. Yep. So you take that $125, it's going to work 4 machines.
It's 4 doors. It's like basically like a glass front cooler.
Yep.
Where you open the door.
4 doors.
But you've got your payment terminal right in the middle.
Yep. It'll work 4 doors.
Yeah, it'll work up to 4 doors. That's correct.
So if you just bought one, say a single door, it would be $125. But the way to do it is buy a duo, then you can at least add to it if you need to.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? That'll help it. Am I thinking about it right? Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
Oh, you're right.
Your logic is valid.
Good. So, I should get 5 stars.
Alright.
I have Debbie Patch on the back.
One thing I want to see with this, though, is Mike had it yesterday, right, talking about the 70s show. That's going to be kind of our topic here.
Yeah.
What we see happening, and I like this talk about modernizing, because what happens is grantors out there, they know this stuff's out there. They go to airports and hospitals and other places, and they say, why don't we have this here? And then they come to our program and they start saying, we want this. And then we're reacting to it. We should be proactive. We are the experts in this business, not our grantors. We're the ones that should be stepping forward and saying, hey, this is out there. This is something that we believe would work good for their facility. And go for it. That way we're not just, trying to play catch up all the time. They're trying to catch up to us. Yes, you bet.
I will speak on that topic, talk about when we pick up these other business at Right Path. I have a concern that we are not going to put the money into that. I did a tour recently, went through with Scott, walked through these new areas we're supposed to be picking up, and looked at their micro markets, which are pretty nice. And set up. We gotta make sure that we're coming in, we just run this arbitration, we wanna do a good job. We have to go in there, not with some, I don't care if we rephrase it, it's 501Es and all that kind of stuff, these button machines and all. That's not gonna work. We need to have what they have there, even that AP's machines look nice, okay? We want to impress the customer, bring them, let them know this is, we can do the same thing and we can do it better. So I'm hoping that we're putting Max machines and stuff like that in there for the top, to give the opportunity for the operator who's gonna get that to, not just these branded Pepsi machines and all that, so the operator can have some, give some variety and stuff like that. Not get the operator stuck with old Pepsi machines where you only put Pepsi product in it. You can't give variety when you're dealing with issues like that.
Good job.
Yes, you're right. Thanks, you're right. Mott?
Yeah, I just would like to, I'm really pleased that this came up about the smart coolers. The program, I don't want it to be felt that the program is totally unnecessary. I mean, the program did a good job getting into credit cards. It has assumed, has really embraced the micro market and developed the micro market. So yeah, we're building on a pretty firm foundation here. But I want to point out that we've got this money coming in for the equipment renovation right now. That's not going to happen again. Okay? That's not going to happen again. Now is when we have that money. So everything that people have been saying about these smart coolers and what Yvette has, for example, been talking about Right Path. Now we can't just go when we get around to it. We have got to do it in time to take advantage of the money that's going to be available to the program now that will not be available to the program if we decide to wait and just piddle around and get around to it. So I think it's a great idea. We just got to think of it as not just something like pie in the sky. The clock is ticking.
Thanks, Mott. And I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. I don't think we've embraced the micro markets nearly enough. Micro markets are the way of the future. No, do they belong everywhere? No. But we have a lot of facilities, our larger vending facilities, that could, now I know there's financial issues and all that need to be taken into consideration. But right now, it seems like we're waiting for a grantor to come to us wanting a micro market instead of us going to them and saying, guess what we can do for you. we can put this micro market in here, and here's the additional services we can provide for you because of that. Numbers will show you go to any of these national things, Michael will back me up, and actually those who've gone to things like Blast should be able to say the same thing. Sales go hugely, exponentially higher.
20%.
Yes, 20% higher. But I guess that's not exponential, but hey, I don't know about what exactly. But 20% higher with a micro market as opposed to a traditional bank of vending machines. So this is what we should be doing. If a building comes open, we should, I mean, yeah, sometimes the universities, you can't put them every building and all that, but a lot of these office buildings, we should be putting micro markets there now.
And also, that's the same thing between a button pop machine and a Bev Max.
Yeah.
Your sales go up.
Absolutely.
The Bev Max more so than you have in your, regular, even though they look nice, those newer pop machines, the Bendos, but my sales are much better in my Bev Max than it is in my Bendo.
If I could replace all of those machines, I would, but it's a $6,000 to $12,000 difference. But going forward, we need to look at all of those, and when we can replace it with the Bev Max, we absolutely should. I'm for it. I wish we had an unlimited budget. We could do all of this all at once. It's strategizing, and we can't just focus on one region, one facility, because we've got to be, and we're going to work with the committee on this, and I think we are, and there's so many good ideas. It's just being able to spread the wealth, if that makes sense.
Aaron?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Maybe Chris can answer this. Chris Johnson. Is it Johnson?
Yes.
What is really the difference between one of them smart coolers or smart stores and a micro market? Isn't it kind of the same?
There you go.
No. All right, can somebody kind of explain it?
I'll try to do this.
Go ahead.
I'm no expert, but like I said, had a lot of conversations, I've read a lot of cut sheets on this to look at this technology. A micro market, all the product is available for the customer to reach and grab and take what they want, and then they are responsible to go to a payment kiosk. Some payment kiosks are cash in, cash out, meaning that they can make change to the customer or pay with a credit card, and some of the payment kiosks are card only, or card or phone only. So, it costs the agency a lot more money when they do the cash in, cash out one, so, you kind of gotta look at what's realistic for the location.
So,
But that's a micro market. Now, smart store differs in that everything is behind a glass cabinet, a glass door. And you can set these up so that you've got snacks, packs of Orbit gum, $5 sandwiches, whatever. Behind the glass door, when Aaron swipes his card, the door is unlocked, and Aaron can reach in, and he can get himself and his wife a soda. He can, perhaps, go down to the next one and grab with a different swipe because it'd be not such cool cooler, but he might get some chips and a candy bar down at the next machine. But you have access to the product, you have to swipe the card first. What's nice about that is that you're far less vulnerable as an operator to shrink, to loss, to theft. Because it's easy enough for somebody to pick up 3 items, walk up to the kiosk and only scan 2 of them, right? And so you've got some theft loss there. And the agency, Christie, doesn't want to be involved in these conversations where the operator's saying, hey, they're stealing from me, and I need you to go to the granter and make them stop. Because that's not an easy conversation for administrators to have. So if we can be proactive in reducing the potential for theft by steering perhaps towards smart coolers because they give us a better prospect of avoiding theft, then that's probably the smart thing to do.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I thought that you were right about the micro markets. The stuff is not behind closed doors.
Correct.
You can just grab it.
Picture a grocery store, you mean?
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. So and like the Wright Patterson Air Force Base, these smart coolers, I think, would be perfect for something like that. They're pretty, they look nice, they're appealing to my eyes. And I really think it would be a great win-win situation all the way around.
Yeah, go ahead, Yvette.
One of the things I would say, Christy, is it possible, and I know budget-wise, we're trying to wait for Toledo and all that, but is it possible that we could maybe do some of the snack machines? And I know maybe not every area, but use snack machines where you reface those and get some of those Bevel Maxes in, especially some of the high-profile buildings and stuff like that, making sure that, because we really want to go into and impress these people. I just don't want to just throw anything in there. We're looking like we're dating, and when we're picking out these people who have nicer equipment, machines, and everything else.
You're supposed to step up.
Yeah, step up, all right. Yeah, somebody.
Lisa.
Oh, Lisa, go ahead, Lisa.
I got a question. As far as, and I'm just throwing an idea out there because I don't know if it's even feasible, but I remember when we were at the county courthouse, we had a couple of cabinets that were refurbished from prior snack machines, I believe they were. Is there anything that we have in hand that would be put towards, like, that may otherwise go towards the junkyard, but maybe we could somehow turn into a new machine? In other words, maybe scrap it type thing, get the money from it, put it towards getting new machines? Is that a possibility or not?
So what used to happen was we were able to trade in, and Schaefer Marty would give us some money for a machine against a new machine. But we were told by DAS that is not permissible. We have to salvage them. So then we don't always get that trade, but we have been getting money in. When we get that money in, and Amy's not here, I'll have to get back with you guys on this. That money comes back to us. I don't know, I don't think we can rematch it because it was matched at one point, but we do have those funds, and we are, that is a good source. And again, I hear everyone, and I agree with that. We need to get some new stuff at Bright Pat, we need to get some new stuff at VSCC. It's just a matter of, Orville was just saying, we just bought 16 machines for a facility that was over 113,000. So it might have to be a combination. And I don't want to go and put completely 20-year-old junk. And we do have machines at Schaefer that have been pulled from parts. But then we look at the age, we look at the repair history, ask the consultants. We try to determine, and we are getting better at it, we try to determine prior to them leaving their current facility, is this a machine that we can repurpose, or does this need to go to surface road? And that's what we're working on. And it is a puzzle. I'm trying to give everyone their needs, and I can't give everyone their needs, which is frustrating. It really is. So it's trying to make it as equitable, but to say, okay, I can give this facility 4 new Benmax, 2 older, snack machines, but know that, you'll be on the list for when new snack machines are purchased. Something like that. And maybe what we do need to do is get better at communicating it. We do have a plan in place generally, but then it can change. And our consultants are supposed to be talking from the very get-go on this modernization with their operators, because we want the operators' input. So if you're not getting input when modernization equipment is coming around, please tell me, because you should. Curtis?
Yeah, just follow up with what Yvette was saying and what Christy was saying with the Bev Max machines. In my opinion as an operator, the Bev Maxes look nice.
but at the same time, they done modernization at my finale. The way mine's set up, one side of the rest area, one side have 3 drink machines. It's 2 Vendo 721s, and I have a Bev Max and 1 snack machine. The other end, I have 2 snack machines, a coffee machine, and a Bev Max. So the different equipment allow me to be more productive, because if I had all Bev Maxes, granted, each Bev Max have 45 selections. How many SKUs are you gonna carry if you have 3 Bev Maxes? I like the Vendo 721s because I have 1 allocated for just cans. And that means I can carry 10 different can varieties in that machine. Plus, that's a different price point. So people who don't want to pay $3 for a 20 ounce get the 12 ounce can from the 721. But if I had a Bev Max in that place, am I going to put 45 selections of cans in 1 Bev Max machine and expect it to sell? So when you get a mix of machinery, I think your productivity and your profits going to be better. Now the other Vendo 721, because I know Pepsi, Mountain Dew, those are high volume items. And then with the 721 in the Vendos, you can stack 28 in 1 column, and that's a 10 select. So am I gonna put 5, 10 rows of Mountain Dew in a glass front, 10 rows of Pepsi? No, I'd rather have a Vendo for those high volume items. I don't want to put 5 rows of Mountain Dew in a glass front, and then now I've always got 2 empty spaces, and that look ugly.
Yep. Yeah, I think we agree, Curtis.
Everybody wants to purchase from the left to the right. So if y'all notice that, and when we talk about inventory, I'm always moving the product on the right to the left, because if I keep filling the left, I'm gonna have some dated product. But with a mix of equipment, it increase your profitability, it give you opportunity for different price points. Because in my Bev Max, I'm carrying 45 different SKUs, and if I don't sell them, where I'm gonna pick that product? I don't have no other attachments. It's good that I have some attachments that I can take that product to, where I can split a case of something that only moving 8 bottles, and I can put 8 at that location, 8 at another location. But if I got 24, I got a lot of product going out there. So just consider the mix match of equipment and what you can do with it.
Curtis, that's when you use space to sales on the Bev Max machine.
They bend evenly, those columns.
You don't have those empty columns. They've been one, then another, then another. You don't have that much. It's called space to sales.
Hey, Annette?
Yes, Jeff.
I have not always been a big proponent for this micro markets and your technology. For one thing, I read all kinds of articles from big vending companies. The shrink rate got really bad. When I saw some of the micro markets in areas where they didn't get good cooperation for people accidentally taking items they weren't supposed to, unless you have a grantor who's willing to first with the smart coolers, in that if you have an AI system, and you have AI cameras that are monitoring people's hand when it goes in, if you don't tell that thing properly what's on each shelf and in the position, some of them use weight, some, like I said, the newest one's using AI cameras, one in each corner of the cooler. But you could mess yourself up out of a lot of money if that thing thinks somebody pulled out a bottle of Coke, but they actually pulled out a $5 sandwich or something out of that cooler. So I just want everybody to understand, there is a lot of work that goes in with this. We were just talking about Cantaloupe yesterday and See Live. That's nothing compared to the work you're going to have to do for these things. And they are somewhat cost effective, but I also want to caution you on this too. When someone buys something from my vending machine, my exposure to fraud is fairly low. When you swipe a card at one of these or tap or whatever, it's going to unlock that door
dependent upon the pre-authorized amount that you have set up for it. Well, if you have a prepaid card, or if you have a debit card that doesn't have enough in the bank, once they pull that merchandise out and close that door, it's gonna attempt to charge them for all the stuff they took. And some operators with these smart coolers have said they are running into problems with people not having enough money in their account, whereas my vending machine is not gonna give it to them if it does not authorize the right amount. If they don't get free access to it, they have to specifically choose what they want. It's just more of a cautionary thing. I really hope we study that before we buy 25 of them and start scattering over. And then next year, we're gonna, God, I hate these coolers because people take the wrong thing, or I have to constantly update the system or whatever. So, just, I think it's great if we use it the right way. So.
The accessibility is an issue with them. When I was at class, at least at Cantaloupe, I sat in a demonstration presentation, and of course it's a room full of blind folks. And they admitted they weren't as accessible for the back end as they could be. Of course, they promised they were working on it, but once again, room full of blind folks, what are they going to say? So that is something to absolutely keep in mind too, the accessibility of these smart coolers. Chris, and then I have a question too before we go. Go ahead, Chris, and then I know there was someone over here too.
Frank.
Okay, Frank. Go ahead, Chris.
Let's take Frank first.
All right.
Mine was, I have a question about when the, after the reconstruction was done in the rest areas. I had, talking to my consultant, she did not say this for sure, she wasn't sure. I said something about, well, I currently have 4 beverage machines and 2 5-by USI snack machines, and I said, since we don't have coffee machines there when these buildings are rebuilt, I still want to keep the 4 beverage machines and the 2 snack machines. And she said she was of the impression that it has to be 3 pop and 3 snack. And I was just wanted to ask management, is that the case? Is that a requirement, or can we still keep?
No, Frank, it's not a requirement.
Okay.
Chris?
Yeah, I guess I found that lost memory. It should be known that Cantaloupe has an employee, his name is Chris Ingram.
Yes.
Specifically dedicated to assisting the blind business manager in the use of Cantaloupe equipment and software. And for $2,500, the staff could bring him to a training event. And that would be money well spent. Whether that $2,500 is to work specifically with Missy and the implementation of her smart coolers, or whether it's an event for several of us, or whether that could somehow be combined for negotiated rate. Some of the particulars would need to be worked out. But he helps operators with startup to deal with some of the accessibility issues. I had a Zoom call with Chris Ingram. His vision is 2,600. He is one of us. And so he uses soft. Yeah, I know my total friends are saying no, maybe not. But he uses a lot of adaptive technology. He's well versed in use, particularly I know a lot of my total friends like Apple technology for accessibility, and he's well versed in how to interface Apple technology, their software, PC technology, their software, primarily in the micro market smart cooler environment. That's what that's the niche that they're really trying to grow. They recognize that vending industry is stuck in the 70s with vending machines, and they recognize that they can make more money on that 5.45% when they're selling more product. And we make more money when we're selling more product. So it's a win-win. So they're pushing that business segment. But they've got a man dedicated to helping our managers, and it remains for the state to just provide the necessary compensation to bring him in here to help us gain some traction and application of that.
Okay, we had one more over here, and then we're gonna do some final thoughts and get the drawing and get ready to go. So I think we had one more. Was it Aaron or Scott? Scott, okay.
I just want to make a response directly to Chris. I have brought, it's great that Cancel Up Go has Chris Ingram as an interim, liaison, but we have brought myself, John D, have
At this point the person doing the recording changed to a headset and the rest of the recording is not usable.